projects that I've got, and I've got a stack of solos that I've purchased but have just never looked at. And so I'm starting to work through all those etude books that I maybe started in college and just never got through. And that's kind of been motivating me lately, and getting me back on the horn a lot. And it's fun. It's fun again.
That's what I wanted to ask you actually. How is going your motivation?
Yeah, it's like I said, kind of tying into that. It's I think rolling right now. I'm really encouraged. I'm really motivated to keep practicing. I definitely have my days where I dip, and maybe I'll take a day off or a break, and but it's definitely rolling forward, and it's definitely moving forward because I have this huge stack on my bookshelf next to me of books I want to get through so I can be a better performer, a better teacher. I want to increase my knowledge of solos so I can again be a better performer and teacher, incorporate new solos into my recital performances, new etudes into my teaching, and new books that I can recommend to students and work out of. And so it's been sort of a self-reflection period and self-betterment. Word I like to use is elevation period, where I'm trying to elevate myself as a performer and a musician and a teacher. And so it's motivation's back on, I feel like, but it was definitely gone for a while.
Yeah, I can imagine. How are you dealing with your students nowadays?
It was a struggle at first. I think, we all kind of went through this, like, okay, how are we going to teach? How are we going to, work virtually? And there's been a lot of people have posted a lot of great resources online, little tutorials, videos about best ways to use Zoom to get great sound going. And I've watched one of those is Rob Knopper from the Metropolitan Opera in New York. He's a percussionist there, and a buddy of mine went to PMF together. He's got a little video on his Facebook about the good audio settings you want to make sure you have for Zoom. And so I've been teaching a lot on my MacBook through Zoom using actually on Instagram. You can see I have this microphone here. Well, you can see it on Zoom as well. I have an Audio Technica AT2020 microphone there with a, for those on Instagram, I'll turn it around. Here is a Scarlett 2i2.
That is the interface, right?
That's the interface that I'm using. The microphone goes into that and plugs right into my computer. I've got some extra lighting so that you can actually see me because I'm in my basement, so it gets a little dark down here. I keep my bass trombone, my tenor trombone out constantly, and my contra is right there. So I have all the tools to teach. It's not, I don't think as ideal as an in-person lesson, being able to, work in-person one-on-one. That will never be replaced, as I think all industries are finding. But definitely with the equipment that I've gathered, it's definitely making teaching as close to being as in-person as possible.
Okay, Brian, that is amazing. Because nowadays we are living something that we are not used to live, and you were already prepared to do this kind of stuff already. At least you have your own studio at home, right?
Yeah. I'm very fortunate for this.
That's really, really good that you can spend the rest of, I think for us as a musician, as a trombone player, we are gonna be living a really tough time. I think the coming year at least.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of cities shutting down concerts, or at least talking about shutting down concerts until 2021. LA has said no concerts of any kind, not just for their orchestra, but for any live performances until 2021. That's going to be quite difficult. And those people who are already having a tough time practicing in their apartments or in their homes, townhomes, condos, whatever, we're going to have to get creative. We're going to have to get smart about the way we practice, how we practice, and in ways that we can get good practice in without, driving our neighbors and family crazy.
Because for sure your neighbors, they were not used to have you so often at home.
Yeah. But you know what? They've been very nice about it. I've been out front every now and then, and people will pass by and say, "Hey, do you play the tuba or the trumpet?" They never guess trombone. I don't know why they never guess.
Yeah, that's
trombone.
true.
I say, yeah, and they say they're very appreciative, and I will It's really nice weather right now, so I have the windows open, and they say honestly a lot of times thank you for the music because I think that's something that everybody's missing in their lives right now. There's no live music that anybody can enjoy.
Tell me something. How is the situation nowadays at your neighborhood? Can you go outside? Can you do some sports? Can you walk by?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm seeing a lot more of my neighbors now that this whole pandemic is going on. I see people I've never seen before, and it's interesting when I go for a lot of drives, just to get out of the house, and you see people just all over the street. I mean, in a safe distance, right? Um, but they're I think this is encouraging more people to get out of their houses and be active. Everybody's getting a little bit of cabin fever, and I don't unfortunately see too many sports going on. I think it's maybe probably safe for right now for people to not congregate together just yet until the numbers get a little bit better. But I hope that at some point, whenever the pandemic does ease down a little bit before we go back to work, maybe there will be some pickup games, basketball, soccer, baseball that people can start joining in on and having some fun.
That's really true. Brian, tell me something. I see some weights at your back. Are you doing this as a daily routine?
Uh, yeah. I when I can, I leave it set up. I'm not like a by any means like an avid yeah, exerciser, person that works out a lot or anything, but whenever I can, like I think it's important to take breaks from your face. And I give myself something to do within the same room, which is working out, so that I don't leave the room, wander off, and forget I'm practicing. If I'm going to practice for a couple of hours, then I'll take little like 5-10 minute breaks. I'll get a couple sets in on the bench. There's some dumbbells back there. Just work out a little bit, and then go back to the instrument so that I'm staying in one place and not thinking, oh, let me take a break. I'll go do the dishes or something, and then I get caught up and I don't come back to practicing. This kind of keeps me in my practice space so that I stay motivated and keep that progress going.
That's really good, really good. Brian, how do you start your daily routine being at home, surrounded by your family that you are not used to?
With something portable. It's a mouthpiece that actually got stuck in a lead pipe during my Navy band days. Like one of my first performances outdoors. It was freezing, and I borrowed this mouthpiece from the other bass trombone in the Navy band. And it got stuck in the lead pipe. When I pulled it out, the pipe came with it, and it's been stuck like this ever since. So I can do this even with a sleeping baby. I can just buzz melodies, buzz any song that's in my head, and I try to get about 20 to 30 minutes of buzzing. Um, while before I get to the horn, because that just makes me feel warmed up. It's like coffee for the lips. It just gets you going, and I try to get a lot of buzzing in so that whenever I do get down and I need to come down and be by myself and get some practice in, it's straight to the horn, ready to go, ready to work on some scales, some etudes, solos and stuff. Yeah.
May I ask you what is in the border of the mouthpiece there? I saw something white. Is another
Oh,
material?
it's yeah. So in the Navy band, we do a lot of services outdoors.
Yeah.
And this is a plastic rim. Just it stays warm a little bit longer than the brass does, so that whenever the horn comes to our face, it doesn't it's not such a temperature difference.
Okay, okay. Brian, tell me something. How do you deal with all your goals? You should have so many goals at the moment. I don't know, maybe short term, long term goals. How do you deal with it?
Yeah. Right now I have no long-term goals. I because I don't know when this is going to end. It's hard. It's for me. It's hard to make long-term goals because with everything changing, so like it seems like week to week, the environment around the world, the climate, so to say, with this whole situation, it changes. The information has changes so much. It's hard to make those long-term goals. So, I kind of find myself just diving into whatever I want, and I have a set of solos, like I said, and etude books that I will work through, but I'm not tying myself to those by any means. Really, it's anything that I want to do, I try to make time for it. And I try to organize my practice sessions and say, okay, I'm going to start with this. Like I have a project right now. I miss playing with piano. You know, I had a lot of recitals lined up for the spring and summer, and they all got canceled. And so there were some pieces that I was really looking forward to performing, and I'm not good at piano by any means, but there's this one piece by Arvo Part, Spiegel im Spiegel, that it has a really easy piano part. I mean, pretty much anybody can play it. It's one note at a time. That I'm working on recording that in Audacity and then playing over it, and that's sort of a one of my little projects. You know, the solos, the etudes. I want to get better at tenor trombone. I want to get better at contra. So I think for me, it's been important to have a bunch of little projects because I found that whenever I just had like 3, 4, or 5 projects, even little or big, I would still get burnt out on them. I would look at them and be like, "Well, I don't really want to do that," and so I just wouldn't go practice. So for me, I have a large variety of projects I want to do, and so that at any point whenever I need to go practice, I say, all right, well, what do I want to do today? And I think that's important for my motivation is that I'm always doing something I want to do, and having a wide variety of projects allows me to stay interested in practice.
So mainly your projects nowadays are home recordings.
Yeah, there's pretty much all we can do.
Are you getting also invited by some of your colleagues to have some recordings that you have to do your own recording and then set up together with another recording?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've got some of my colleagues in the Atlanta Symphony, the section. We're trying to get a recording laid down, just start to have fun with it, and it's really challenging. You know, it's I've done a couple of these recordings, and trying to get yourself to sound good in different environments is there's a definite learning curve to all this audio software. How do you you know, typically I don't like the acoustics down here. It's a carpeted, drywalled basement. It doesn't sound very good, but yet I need to produce material that's that I feel comfortable putting out there and joining along with my colleagues who maybe have better practice spaces or maybe sometimes worse practice spaces. It's a challenge to get those together, but definitely I'm trying to stay involved in recording projects and collaborations, because that's, I think, the fruit of our labors. You know, like when we get to practice and collaborate with our colleagues, that's really what it's about. And I think that's one of the things I miss the most is getting to work with other great musicians, get inspired by my colleagues, and just you know, feel that team effort of anything from a small chamber ensemble to a large orchestra.
We were talking a little bit about equipment that you had. You show us a little bit your interface, your microphone. What about edition of videos? Are you doing by yourself?
Just like solo videos, you mean?
Yeah, I think I just saw your video that on your Instagram, because you are really active on social media. That video you did by your own, or you ask someone else? Are you working with audio, Pro Tools? What do you use?
I'm just using my phone. I'm playing around with different different ways of placing the microphone. So the one I just posted, the black and white one, I had some trouble with the microphone. It peaked out on me, and it just kept doing it. And so I just used the clip anyways, and I'll figure it out some other time. But I've got this little microphone that's made by Zoom. Not the same company that we're using here, but like it's, you know, I think everybody knows the audio recording company Zoom. They make these little, Ensure makes one. I think Edirol maybe makes one, but they plug into your iPhone, and it's just a little like globe.
That comes with their own app, right? You have your own app. Yeah, that's really good. Really nice.
So I've used that a couple of times to just enhance the audio a little bit, but most of the time I'm just throwing my phone down, and I noticed that depending on which way you point the microphone, whether it's towards the bell or away from the bell, you're going to get very different sounds. Or if you record yourself from the side looking at you, or if you're recording straight on, you know, I've done a lot of testing of moving the phone and the microphone around the room and seeing how it affects the audio in different locations.
Brian, tell me something. What about your students? Are you having everyday single lessons, group lessons? Are you doing warm-ups together with them? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, I started out doing a lot, like, joining some friends, doing warm-ups, doing like fundamental sessions. And then I kind of took a break for a while and really just soaked up the family time. And my lately we've me and my wife have had the conversation that we're getting back to work. She's starting her job back up again tomorrow. And so I put a post out today about lessons. I'm going to start teaching again and doing more teaching. Right now, I have two weekly students that I meet with virtually. Um, and so now I'm going to expand and start teaching more regularly. Um, and like I said, I've got the setup. But the best thing for anyone out there that's listening that might be interested in lessons from anyone, you know, you can get some equipment on online for rather cheap. I mean, less than $50. Like I think there's one called like a Snowball that's pretty cheap, and you plug it into your phone, and that will enhance your lessons. It just enhance your recording greatly. The toughest time I've noticed teaching is whenever um, I'm trying to work with someone with all this equipment, and they're having the lesson just on their phone or just on their tablet. What's going to happen is that the software with those two devices, it's going to have a limiter on it, so that as I get louder, my equipment can handle it, but their output will clip my sound coming through. And so it's working with that. I think we're all in this. I've talked to a lot of my friends that are teaching at universities, and they're having to work with their studios of 30 trombone players trying to figure out how to work with this, and those are their best recommendations. So it's getting better. But we'll see. I'm gonna start kicking it off this next week and try and fill up some lesson spots.
Are you also getting some recordings of from your students?
Yes, yeah, yeah. That I mean, every now and then, and that's just the way I like to work as a teacher. Is we'll have a lesson, but anytime the student has a question, they can always just send me a recording, and I'll give some feedback through the message. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Brian, tell me something. Just leaving a little bit at the side the music and the trombone player. What do you think that the thing that personally you miss the most about your routine?
Oh, performing in different spaces. I About my personal routine. The first thing that came to mind was playing with my colleagues in the Atlanta Symphony. That's number one thing that I miss the most. But personally, and I guess a more selfish respect, is I miss performing in different spaces. I can, with two little kids upstairs. Oftentimes they don't like how loud the trombone is, so I usually play just down here. And I find that whenever you get the opportunity to perform in different spaces, it makes you better as a musician, as a performer. To get out there, it's every space has a unique reverb, reverb and response to it that I think's a lot of fun. And I definitely miss playing in our hall, miss playing in different spaces in Atlanta Symphony's hall in the Woodruff Arts Center, and um, getting around to universities around the country and getting to play in their recital halls, definitely miss all that.
Because you love a lot sports, right? To watch some sports, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. So I think this is gonna be the first thing that you will do when everything gets into normal. I think so.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure.
Coming back into the music, Brian, tell me, do you think people will appreciate a little bit more music after this quarantine, this after this lockdown? How are
I
you?
think so. I think everybody's going to be a little hesitant to get back out there. I mean, obviously, what we do requires people to congregate, and I think that there's going to be some hesitance to do that and reluctance to get back out, especially with the older patrons. I think they're going to be try to be more safe, but I think that it's going to be I think the answer is yes. I think that people are going to appreciate what was essentially taken from them with this pandemic on all levels, and music being one of those big things. The you can't replace live acoustics, live music, the that intimate moment that an audience and the musicians share. It's very hard to get that to go through a screen, and is not as often successful I find that I'm moved more often in person with live performances, whereas I could watch that same performance on a screen and it's just not the same. So I think a lot of people recognize that. I don't think I'm alone in that. I think that they will definitely appreciate these live performances a lot more than they did before. And I'm hoping that a lot of these, music providers, so to say, not just orchestras, but live music venues that have live concerts and bands will increase their safety measures and make it so that we can all continue to enjoy live music as soon as possible without spreading any unwanted germs, I guess.
Yeah, I believe so. Brian, what is your advice for our trombone players at the moment?
At the moment, motivation seems to be the hot topic on this one. Find things to stay motivated. In fact, I was just thinking about this last night. You sent some of these questions ahead of time, and I was thinking about this a lot. Um, what are some of the things I do to stay motivated that I think helps me get to the trombone and enjoy it more often? And I I like to pick up the horn and try to work on. I want to think, all right, what do I want to play right now in this moment? What would be cool for me to have under my chops, and I'll try something, and then I'll work on it until I get it, and then I'll try something else. Like, oh, I've always wanted to play that tune from that movie or that video game. Well, figure it out. Use your ears. Figure it out. It gets you motivated just to get on the instrument, and I encourage every, not just trombone players but musicians of all instruments, to get back to the reason you picked up the instrument in the first place. Like being in school, having a job, these a lot of times you can get bogged down with what you need to do. Well, I need to learn my music for next week. I need to learn this music for the recital. I need to find a way to get attached to this music. All these needs, right, for our daily life. Um, with all those gone right now, we can get back to our wants. Well, what do I want to do? I want to learn and perform an entire Bach cello suite. I want to learn this. I want to learn how to compose a piece, right? I want to learn how to play piano. I want to be better at high range. We have that time now. I recommend to start diving into all those wants again, and what makes you love your instrument, love music. Maybe with Berlin Digital Concert Hall offering a free subscription, maybe you've always wanted to hear the Berlin Phil play your favorite piece. Go check it out. Turn it on. Go start listening, and use this opportunity to get back to all those wants that have maybe put to the side because all the needs took priority.
Do you have some recordings coming up?
No clue. Well, I've got one that I'm going to work on the next day or two. My buddy Will Baker out in California has asked me to record his sequences for Hindemith, Symphonic Metamorphosis. So I'm going to work on that a little bit today and tomorrow and get that recorded. Other than that, I've got some etude books that some of my friends have sent me, and I want to pick a etude that I really like out of each one of those and maybe record a little bit and post that. But it's day to day. It's whatever I feel like. You cut down, you pick up the horn. It's like, what do you want to play? Do you want to play standard classical repertoire? Do you want to play an excerpt, a solo? Maybe pull out a jazz book, or I gotta wait until I pick up the horn the next time and see what piques my interest.
How do you start your day with the trombone? Do you do some basics method?
Absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, I do about 20 to 30 minutes of buzzing. But then once I hit the horn, I've got on my website, brianhecht.com, under the links tab, I've got my daily routine. And I always start with sound production, making sure that regardless of what I play on, like right now, back here, you guys can see my bass. I've got, Phil's on Instagram, there you go. I've got a cut bell on right now that this is, kind of a fun time. I don't normally play on a cut bell. I play on my Lone Star model, but like right now is a great time where I'm not performing in public right now, so I can take the time to see, like, all right, can I make this cut bell do what I want it to do? Can I make it sound like my single piece bell, to make traveling just a little bit easier? Especially international traveling has been a big hassle with my uncut bell. So I've got a travel case that I can use, but this is just another option. And I can really use this time to do a lot of long tones, a lot of glistening through scales, and play around with different equipment. So I've been doing a lot of that, putting on different bells, different mouthpieces on my tenor back there, trying a bunch of different mouthpieces, counterweights, tuning slides, lead pipes, and seeing, like really getting back to, all right, what's the sound in my head? What are the colors that I want to offer through my sound? What is up here? Can I get it on all this different equipment? So that it also helps me be a better teacher to tell people who don't play the instrument that I do or the equipment that I do, like how to help develop a sound. So I think that's where I start my day, is just sound development, focusing on that kind of stuff, and then I move to all the other basics. A lot of lip slurs, scales like crazy, man.
Brian, being a little bit more specific about the cut bell. Do you recommend for people that they don't have this option to do it?
Um, it changes things. I will say it changes things. I'll say this: if you are not tied to a setup, like if you are like out there looking for a setup, definitely try it. I mean, I know a lot of people that sound absolutely fantastic on cut bells, and it definitely makes traveling easier. So I totally recommend a cut bell. I've yet to find a negative about it. The only thing that I'm hesitant with myself performing on one is that it does change the way I sound. And for me, my personal identity on the instrument is very much tied to the fabric of my sound, right? Like if I change the way I sound, well, then I'm not matching what's in my head. And so there's that bit of disagreement when I play like I said, I got this bell just for fun from Shires like last year, and I've yet to perform on it. Um, but it would make travel a bit easier. So, I think I'm having some fun with it and seeing if I can get it to sound the same way. But if you, like I was saying, if you are like already on an instrument you love and it's not cut, and you love the way you sound, I'm not going to recommend you switch to a cut bell unless all the things you say you're having problems with matches with what the cut bell would add. Like I think it adds more focus, more center, better articulations, better projection. It kind of brings the sound in and moves it forward a lot better than an uncut bell. And it makes flexibility, I think, a lot easier, and technical passages come out quite a bit easier than on my other bell. But there are some downsides, so I think it's situational whether or not I'd recommend. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Brian, do you work in the same way with the tenor bass and contrabass trombone?
How so? Could you
I mean, some basics do you use to play in the tenor, and after that in the contrabass trombone? I can tell you personally, when I need to blow a little bit, I start my day with the contrabass trombone to play right away the bass trombone, or the way around. I start with the bass trombone to play the tenor trombone. I feel more
totally?
open.
Yeah,
How do you manage to play with these three different trombones?
I 100% agree with you, man. I think that's a great way to go. If I'm gonna do a lot of work on tenor, I'll warm up on bass. If I'm gonna do a lot of work on bass, like it's great to warm up on the contra. If you want to warm up on the contra, well, get your tube out. No, just no, I mean, yeah, get your basso. I will say that my approaches are a little bit different on each one. Like I said, I warm up on the bigger instrument, then come to the smaller one. But I focus on different things, right? Like I just basically I focus on my weaknesses, like with the with the tenor, I'm gonna focus on different aspects than the bass, and same with the contra. With the contra, I'm trying to for tenor and bass, it's so easy. It's key of B flat, but whenever you switch over to the contra, it's more about getting that familiarity of like where all the notes are again, and reminding yourself, like doing a lot of scales and arpeggios for me to get back into where everything is on the instrument, how it wants to slot. Yeah.
If the people is interested to get some lessons with you, even if they play the tenor trombone, they can ask you to have some lessons with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I'm a avid doubler. I play tenor trombone as I can with the Atlanta Symphony. I'm actually in the final round for the Dallas Symphony Orchestra on both tenor and bass. It's a utility position, so I don't just dabble on tenor, but I can do a few things.
Well, in English, double. They play in, for example, in German, you call it Wechselposaune, that you play the second and the bass trombone as well.
Yeah, right. So we call it like a doubler. A doubler in the
Double.
United States is someone who plays both. I've been working it. I started on tenor trombone, and I didn't switch to bass trombone until my junior year of my undergrad at University of Texas. So um, I I played tenor trombone from sixth grade until the summer after my sophomore year of undergrad. So I've got quite a bit of years on that as well. So
Okay.
happy to work with tenor trombones, bass trombones, tubas, contrabass trombones, whatever.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Nice. And Brian, are you having some plans to get the recording on an album recording with all the stuff that you have played already?
You mean like a CD?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I had. I'm really sad about because of this pandemic. I had a recording set with Dr. Brad Palmer down at Columbus State for August, and I was gonna fly my accompanist in from San Diego, and we were gonna put down a CD in August. And unfortunately, those plans had to get pushed for first of all, we don't even know if Columbus State will be open in the fall, but also financial reasons. I'm sure, sadly, I think that this virus will come back in the winter. I don't want it to, but we have to plan for the worst, right? I unfortunately had to put that on hold. But I definitely am in the process of putting together a solo CD.
Okay. What are your mandatory pieces? Like standard pieces for bass trombone, tenor trombone? What is the idea? What was the idea actually?
So the idea behind this CD is I want to give people a look into what I've been through in my life, and in hopes that the music I used to get through a very difficult part of my life, they can use to get through. Maybe they're in a difficult part of their life. To explain a little bit, I lost my mom a few years ago unexpectedly. Didn't get to say goodbye really or anything. I just got a phone call one day, and I we use music to I think to help us get through things in our lives, just like I did. The CD is going to be called something along the lines of recovery. The first half of the CD will be the music that I dived into right whenever this. Okay, I think I just lost the headphone. Can you still hear me? Okay,
Yes, yes.
on Instagram too.
I hear you perfectly.
Okay, the headphones died. Um, it's going to be
Yeah.
the tell me if it's a little too much if you're hearing
Just
it
keep your
twice.
phone somewhere that is
Yeah, let
safe.
me just a second. Sorry,
Yeah, you're
I'll get some
fine, Brian.
headphones. Just a moment.
What happened? The battery went off.
Yeah. Um here we go. I will switch over. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you perfectly.
Okay, so the CD is it's basically going to be like a recovery CD. The first half is basically all the music that helped me deal with my mom passing away, and it's I'm still solidifying one or two pieces of the repertoire, but it's going to be a song cycle. Um, the Arvo parts, Spiegel im Spiegel, and where was it? I've had to put this on hold just for a little bit. Sorry, it's on my computer. The second half of the piece is going to be things that I've been able to do because I feel that ever since my mom passed, that she's become a part of my music, a part of my playing, and that anytime I'm performing, I feel that she's there with me. And so I had a song composed based off of a wind chime that she gave me. It's called Butterfly Song. It's composed by Andrew Markle. Um, I'm going to play the John Williams Tuba Concerto, something that, I've been playing for a few years, but it's something I never thought I was capable of. And one of those things that my mom always told me was that you can do anything you put your mind to, right? And that's something that has pushed my music career completely. Like I was terrified to get a degree in music performance, but with whenever you have that support from your loved ones saying that anything you want to do, anything you're passionate about, it if you put your body and your mind behind it, you can achieve it. And that's sort of what that solo represents for me. And then the final piece on the album is going to be Ordner Seg by Oystein Badsvik, which basically means it's translated means everything's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. And I think that it's going to be a CD that, you know, it represents struggle and recovery. And I hope that once we actually are able to record it and release it, that it will help anyone else who's going through any kind of loss, and, you know, using music to get through that loss and recover. Oh, the other piece on the first half is going to be Mark Bono's Elegy.
Okay, really nice setup. I like it a lot. Looking forward to hear your new CD. And talking about the music that you said, because of your mom passed away a few years ago, and now we have this pandemic that is all over the world. That was also the question that I think I asked you already. What about music? What music can do to go over this, go through all these difficult periods, you know?
Yeah, you know, I think music heals, man. I think you know, I'm definitely not the first person to say that or believe it, but music can help everyone get through this situation. Like, I think that there's a lot of people going through a lot of different things, being stuck at home, dealing with, maybe they know someone who has been affected by this virus. I think that that's where music is so important, because it carries so much emotion and it carries so much power. You can, just a piece of music can put a smile on your face or bring you to tears, and there's so much power there that I think if people allow it into their lives, music can be a very big part of what everybody's going through, and hopefully in a positive, uplifting way, as we're all kind of, you know, dealing with this virus together in different ways.
Yeah, that is really complete, all the things that you just said, Brian, about music, about trombone, what is your daily routine, everything that they wanted to know. Just trying to go into the end of this an amazing interview that I really like it. Brian, I would like to ask you 5 things that are, I think I know you already. We were talking about around 45 minutes already. So I know you a little bit, I believe. So I will ask you 5 things, and I will love to get a response from you with 5 other things, but you have to use just one word each of them.
Okay.
Got it? Understood?
All right. All right.
For some people, it's really difficult to understand. So nice that you got it in the first choice. Okay.
Well, we'll see. I haven't done it
yet. First thing, trombone.
Can I just respond with one word?
Yes.
Voice.
Family.
Love.
Sports.
Excitement.
Fourth thing, orchestra.
Miss. Like, I miss it.
And the last one, future.
Theater.
Future.
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 Yes.
Unknown.
Really good, really clever. Thanks a lot, Brian Hecht, for your time, for your support, for your quick response about everything, for your technology, that you are really active, really into all the new era stuff. So keep on going.
Hey, thank you so much. And it's so great to meet you, and thank you for having me on. This is a great conversation, and you know, I'd love at some point to ask you all these same questions.
My pleasure. Thanks for everything, Brian. You are an amazing guy. You are inspiring, I think, all over the world with your music, with your way of teaching, with your way of viewing the music and everything. So keep on going. You are a great guy, and your name is all over the world with really positive opinions. That is really good.
Thank you very much. It's great to meet you.
And no worries. On Instagram, on Facebook, and later on YouTube, it will be this amazing interview with subtitles in all kind of languages. So
Wow.
thanks a lot, people from Instagram, and thanks people from Facebook, and later on YouTube.